It happens on a Tuesday, not a special Tuesday, not a Tuesday where anything was supposed to happen. A Tuesday that started with your alarm at 6:47 and a shower and the same coffee from the same machine in the same kitchen and the same drive to the same office. You check the account at a red light, not because you were planning to, because the notification was there and you opened it and the number loaded and you sat at the red light for what felt like 4 seconds longer than the light actually lasted. $500,000. You have never said that out loud. You are not going to say it out loud now. You put the phone in the cup holder face down and you drive the rest of the way to work and you park in the same spot you always park in and you walk into the building and you make yourself another coffee because the one you made at home is still sitting on the kitchen counter getting cold. Nobody notices anything different about you today. That is the point. Nothing is different. Everything is different. Where it started. Go back 9 years. You are 24 years old and you have just landed your first real job. $43,000 a year. You think this is a lot of money until the first paycheck arrives and the math reveals itself and you understand for the first time that $43,000 a year and $43,000 in your account are not even close to the same thing. You do one thing in the first month that you will not fully understand the significance of 4 years. You open a Roth IRA, not because you understood the tax mechanics, not because someone sat you down and explained the difference between pre-tax and post-tax and capital gains treatment, because a coworker mentioned it at lunch and it sounded like something you were supposed to have and you went home and opened one and set up an automatic contribution for $250 a month and went back to your life. $250 a month. You did not notice it leaving. That was the whole design. It left before you touched it. It went somewhere with a different set of rules where money compounds quietly and the IRS cannot reach it and the market does the math while you are asleep. That Monday of your 24th year is the day the clock started. You did not know it was the clock. You thought it was a checkbox. The 9 years. Here's what 9 years looked like from the outside. You moved apartments twice. You got a better job at 27, then a better one at 30. You bought a used car and drove it until it became the kind of car people raise an eyebrow at, and then you kept driving it because it still worked, and because the payment you were not making on a newer car was going somewhere more useful. You did not take the Europe trip at 26, even though 4 people in your circle went and posted every minute of it. Not because you could not afford it, because you looked at the cost and looked at the account and made a decision that felt small in the moment and irreversible in retrospect. You still went out. You still ate at restaurants. You still had the apartment with the nice light and the neighborhood you liked. You were not suffering. You were not dramatic about any of it. You were just consistently making the slightly less visible choice. The slightly less visible choice every single time is not a sacrifice. It is not discipline in some heroic sense. It is just the understanding, built slowly and not consciously at first, that the thing in the account is more real than the thing you almost bought. 9 years of the slightly less visible choice. Compounding at 10% on average. Roth IRA maxed by year 3. Index funds all the way through. Never looked at it during the crashes. Kept the automatic contribution running even in month 7 of year 4 when it felt genuinely hard, and you considered pausing it and you did not pause it. That decision, to not pause it in month 7 of year 4, added somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 to your final number. You will never know exactly how much. The compounding makes it impossible to isolate, but it is in there. It is in the 500,000. That specific month is in there. The things that did not happen. Here is what did not happen. You did not get an inheritance. You did not win anything. You did not get a windfall from a company exit or a crypto position that went vertical or a stock tip from someone who was right once. You did not come from money. Your parents were not wealthy. Nobody handed you a down payment or a network or a head start of any meaningful size. You did not earn an exceptional salary. Your income grew steadily. It was good. It was not extraordinary. There are people in your office making more than you who have a third of what you have accumulated because they spent the difference on things they cannot quite remember now. And you did not suffer for this. That is the part that surprises people when they imagine it. If they ever imagined it, which they have not because they do not know. You just made the slightly less visible choice, consistently, for 9 years, while the account did the rest. What 500,000 actually is. Let me tell you what $500,000 in a Roth IRA at 33 actually is. It is not a yacht. It is not a penthouse. It is not the thing you thought money was when you were younger and money was still abstract. It is 4%. At a 4% annual withdrawal rate, that account generates $20,000 a year without touching the principal. That is $1,666 a month that exists regardless of whether you go to work or not. It is not enough to replace your salary. You still go to work. You are still sitting in the same meetings. But something has changed in the quality of how you sit in those meetings. Before this Tuesday, your manager had all of your leverage. The paycheck was the thing your entire life was structured around. If that paycheck disappeared, the architecture of your life had 47 days before it started to come apart. After this Tuesday, the math is different. The account generates $20,000 a year. Your emergency fund covers 9 months. You have no car payment. Your expenses are modest, not because you are deprived, but because you made the slightly less visible choice for 9 years, and the visible choices are fewer and smaller than they used to be. Your manager still has most of your leverage, but not all of it. And the loss of that last fraction, the specific fraction that makes it impossible to push back on something unreasonable, that fraction is gone now. You feel this on Wednesday. Your manager says something in a meeting that is mildly unreasonable, and you note it internally, and you respond professionally, and you say what needs to be said, and you do not swallow anything you did not want to swallow. It is a small thing. Nobody notices. You notice. The Tuesday evening. You drive home from work on the Tuesday. The same route, the same traffic, the same turn signal at the same intersection. You park, you walk upstairs, you make dinner. The same thing you make on Tuesdays. You sit on the couch with the plate and you turn on the same thing you watch when you do not want to decide what to watch. Your phone is on the cushion beside you, face up. The notification from this morning is still visible in the recent apps. You do not tell anyone, not your friends, not the people you grew up with who are in the group chat that you are all in together, not the coworker from 9 years ago who mentioned the Roth IRA at lunch and who you have been meaning to thank for 9 years and who you will probably never tell, because how do you tell someone that an offhand lunch comment compounded into $500,000? Not your family. Not because you do not trust them. Because the moment you say it out loud, it becomes a different thing. It becomes a conversation and a question and an expectation and a weight. Right now, it is yours. Just yours. A number on a screen on a Tuesday evening in an apartment that looks exactly like it looked on Monday. Nothing has changed. Everything has changed. You finish dinner. You wash the plate. You go to bed at roughly the same time you always go to bed. You set your alarm for 6:47. Tomorrow is Wednesday. What nobody sees. Somewhere in your building tonight, there are people who make more than you. There are people in your office who have earned more over the same 9 years and have less than a quarter of what you have accumulated because the income went to the visible things. The lease on the car that performs wealth, the apartment that signals arrival, the vacations that photograph well. None of them can see your number. You cannot see theirs. That is the entire design of quiet wealth. It is invisible by nature. The person sitting next to you on the commute might have 3 times what you have. Might have nothing. There is no external signal because there was never meant to be one. You built it in the margins, in the automatic transfer that left before you saw it. In the not pausing in month 7 of year 4, in the used car that still runs, in the Europe trip you did not take at 26. None of those decisions announced themselves. None of them produced a photo. None of them generated a response from the group chat. They just compounded, quietly, for 9 years, while your life looked exactly like everyone else's from the outside. And on a Tuesday morning at a red light, the number crossed $500,000 and you put the phone face down in the cup holder and drove the rest of the way to work. Nothing looks different. That was always the goal. The close. Somewhere tonight there is a 24-year-old who just got their first real job. They are looking at their first paycheck and doing the math and understanding for the first time what $43,000 a year actually means after taxes and rent and everything else. They are going to open a Roth IRA, or they are not. If they do not, they will look back from 33 with a different number on the screen and a different set of options. If they do, they will probably not think about it much for 9 years. It will run quietly in the background while they make slightly less visible choices without always knowing why, and let the automatic transfer leave before they see it and not pause it in the month it is hardest not to pause it. And on a Tuesday at a red light, a notification will arrive and a number will load, and they will sit for about 4 seconds longer than the light actually lasted. Nothing about their life will look different. Everything will be different. The account does not care whether you know what you are doing. It only cares whether you start and whether you do not stop.